I'd like to talk about spiritual cultivation in general, with the emphasis on spiritual cultivation part. On Chuseok, or the Korean Thanksgiving holidays, which usually falls at the end of October in Korea, when I was in regular college, I usually drove to my hometown, Daegu City. Usually it takes about 3 or 4 hour drive, but during the Korean Thanksgiving holiday, at least it takes 10 hours. So I and my brother taking turn to drive to hometown. Each and every year, the number of people as well as the cars do not seem to lessen, but each and every person are on the street. It's because they would like to go home, because their families are waiting. Some type of African elephants, when it feels it is near death, I heard it tries to go back where it was born. And we know the salmon in the spawning season, they travel back to where they were born. They swim against the strong currents, and it's a very, very exhausting journey. And after they lay eggs, and they slowly die where they were born. Not just humans, but all animals, all sentient beings, I think, long for their home, their hometown. Then, where is our true home? Rob is young adult, so living in Philadelphia. And when he was a small boy, when he was 4 or 5 years old, he asked to his grandfather. At the time, he was the grandfather was the third head Dharma master of Buddhism, Venerable Dosung. And grandfather, when you passed away, when I miss you, how can I see you? Then Mr. Dosung replied, if you miss me when I die, then you can enter the one Buddhist temple and see Ilban-san, the circular image. Would you read that? Verse 20. Yeah.
The founding master, accompanied by Cho Song-Wang and Chon Un-Wang, went for a stroll one day through the outskirts of Namjung village. By the roadside, there were several huge pine trees which were exceptionally gorgeous. Song-Wang said, "These pine trees are truly gorgeous. I would love to transplant them in our temple." Upon hearing this, the founding master said, "Why can't you transcend your narrow-mindedness and limited scope? Our temple has not left this old pine tree, and this old pine tree has not left our temple. They are both within our boundaries. What is the point of insisting on transplanting it? This is because you have not yet discovered the original home of the grand universe. By transcending the discrimination of the gaps between things," Song-Wang asked, "what sort of a place is this original home of the grand universe?" The founding master said, "Since you would not understand it even if you were to see it now, I will show it to you by drawing a symbol." He then traced the Irwan-san on the ground and said, "This is the original home of the grand universe. Within it are included, without exception, infinite arcane principles, infinite treasures, and infinite creative transformation." When Wang asked, "What can I do to find my way to this house and become its owner?" The founding master said, "One may enter by acquiring the key of the 3 great powers. That key is forged through belief, zeal, questioning, and dedication."
Okay, thank you. When he was asked, what is the home of the universe like, then Sotaesan drew a very big circle on the ground with the cane, and he told to the disciple, this is the home of the universe. Actually, even in the early Christianity, God was depicted by their circular image many times. So Saint Augustine, who systematized the Christian doctrine, defined God in this way. It's a very well-known definition of God. God is a circle whose center is everywhere, whose circumference is nowhere. Very philosophical and beautiful definition of God. Yeah. So, spiritual cultivation is none other than being united with that circle, our true self. Spiritual cultivation is to, specifically speaking, to realize that circle and to cultivate and to utilize that. We usually call that in Buddhism threefold practice or threefold training. Yeah. Circular image, you can call them kingdom of God, nirvana, whatever. It is neighbored, it's not that important. People define nirvana in various ways. Nirvana, it literally means what? Nirvana. Nirvana, you know what it means, all of you.
Salvation, enlightenment.
Yeah. Nir, Sanskrit means no or not. Vana, blowing out. Flame being extinguished. So flame implies our desires. That's what nirvana means. But Buddha, depending on the context, Buddha defined the nirvana in a different way. One of very popular definition of nirvana is unconditioned or the absolute. Think about that. This world is characterized by the relativity. Man and woman, summer and the winter, the rich and the poor. Think about our mind. How our mind is fluctuating in our daily lives. Happiness and depression, pleasure and pain, joy and despondence, contentment and disappointment. We are living in the relative world. We usually say in this way, I am happy because I made a lot of money. I met a wonderful woman. I'm happy because I'm promoted or something like that. It's always something conditional thing. As long as our conditions, environments are constantly changing, the happiness or freedom that relies on our situation is very, very fragile, not everlasting. So only when we become united with that absolute truth, the happiness that we can enjoy can be everlasting and indestructible. That's why we practice them, in short. So his disciple asked, what can I do to find my way to this house and become its owner? Another translation says, become its master. Then he replied, one may enter by acquiring the key of the three great powers. Only when we attain the three great power, we can enter that home. What is three great powers? Three great powers are three power of the empowered mind that comes from the threefold practice or threefold training. The first of the threefold training is spiritual cultivation. The second, It's very long, the translation. Inquiry into the human affairs and the universal principles. In short, that's called the Dharma study, the wisdom part. Dharma study. The third is mindful choice in action. Our original mind, original nature, cannot be verbalized or conceptualized. When Moses first encountered God, he was very afraid. And who are you? Then the Lord replied, I am that I am. The essence, it is ineffable realm. Ilwan-sang vow, it starts, Ilwan is indescribable realm of samadhi. It is the realm beyond all words and speech. But it's a character we can tell. The characteristic of our original mind, the first characteristic, it is very calm, tranquil, and peaceful. Usually, the Korean water symbolizes that samadhi aspect, our original mind. The second aspect or characteristic of our original mind is the wisdom part, the brightness. Jesus said, I am the light of the world, the light aspect. When Moses came down after he received the Ten Commandments, his face was so shiny, people could not see him directly. So he wrapped his face with a kind of a tower. The light or the wisdom aspect of our original mind, the prajna aspect. The third part or the characteristic of our original mind or the ultimate reality is cannot be properly translated. Correctness or righteous part, not in the sense as opposed of wrong or in the dualistic sense. By observing the precepts, by doing some mindfulness in our daily activities, we can be united with that aspect of our original mind. So anyway,